My question is that if the students sum up with those whom they are friends, like they don't sum up with whom they are enemies, they sum up with those who are friends.
Well,
Like
this is just an experiment. Like, Britain might have some allies in the European Union.
No, no, he's talking with respect to your experiment with the students.
Yeah, I like to say they're more likely to be hooked up with their enemies, or either that they just don't want even a chance of being hooked up with their enemies. Like they.
So how does that affect your experiment? Because they're going to be, partnering with their friends.
Okay, so maybe we can have two groups partnering with enemies and two groups partnering with friends, and we can also see those differences.
He wants to try it out and get the data experimentally.
And then afterwards, we can also have specific groups, and the teacher will know who's friends and who's enemies, and so the teacher can actually pick assignments from then on.
so what if those two enemies are bright students and then they perform really good?
Well, then that just disproves the experiment. That shows that anybody can work together.
So you said you'd rank students and you'd put the groups first and then the individuals last. So let's say that the individuals actually managed to do better than the groups. So you would be okay with lying to students and keeping and ranking the groups first?
Well, there's multiple variables. If that happens, then we'll switch around the students, and if it changes, then we'll have to change around the experiment a little bit, so that it actually works properly, like I said.
So you're manipulating the experiment in order to fit your hypothesis.
Well, not completely. Think about it. I'm showing them like who they work with affects how they work. So maybe I can let the students choose their own groups, and then the groups choose their assignments instead
So
of
can you repeat your experiment? How are the groups organized?
Basically, the groups are organized
By the teacher or the students?
Originally it was a teacher, but afterward, now I'm thinking about it. Maybe the students could organize it, and I'm also thinking that maybe instead of choosing assignments, then depending on which assignment you choose, you go in that group. Maybe you choose a group, and the group chooses an assignment.
So while you conduct your experiment, how would you conduct it?
I would maybe conduct it by having the students pick their groups. I'm gonna have if it's groups of 2, then I'll have 8 people there choose their groups. Or if it's groups of 3, then I'll have 12 people, and like that. So I'll have them pick their own groups.
See, I have a question for you before you ask them a question. See, he just wants to test combined study versus individual study. So do you think the variables which you are pointing affect the experiment? If yes, you can just ask him. This is what he wants to test, group study versus individual study.
Okay, let's say in spite of all this, the individuals hold out. Would you still tell the students that group study works better?
I would redo the experiment, switching around individuals with groups, and then we'll have to see if something actually changes. Maybe it's actually the individuals that are smart. So then we'll have 2 not as smart people in the individuals, 2 smart people in the individuals, then half the groups with smart people, and half the group with not so smart people.
So he'll try and understand all the underlying variables and then test it.
And he's going to manipulate the experiment
No, he's
until
not
he
manipulating
reaches-
experiment.
No.
He's trying it again and again.
Until the variables match up.
Yeah.
until he gets his desired result.
No, if they're
Next, judge's question will have it next.
if everything goes against my experiment, then I'll have to deny my experiment.